just knew he's a realtor.
All right, we're on.
He's the chair of Phoenicia Water. He just doesn't like talking. That's why Rick talks.
Live?
Yep.
Oh, that's right. I've seen his name.
Live's done, right?
Yeah. His wife walks by our house every day. We chat. She's very nice.
Hi, Peter.
How are you?
Very good. Yourself?
Very good.
Good. Gavel.
I won't forget. I'm showing 1 minute. Okay.
Fatigue.
Good evening. This month, we're looking to pass our
Stand.
STR law.
We have to stand.
Oh, let's do the
Yeah,
pledge
let's do
first.
that.
Thank you. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Board Member Drake. Present. Board Member Neisel. Here. Board Member Steen. Yeah. Board Member Van Blarkum.
Here.
And Supervisor DeSclafani.
Here.
She had to think about it.
All right, can I get a motion to approve last month's minutes?
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. This month, we're looking to pass our STR law plus attendant fee structure. We'll also be adding a part-time zoning officer, Grace Grant. With the passage of the STR law, we will need to expand the building zoning office even more. An additional building inspector and an additional secretaries are needed to support the added burden to our staff. We're also adding a new computer system software to integrate all the offices to cohesively work together. We are diligently working to get stormwater retrofit system in Pine Hill, but that needs another engineer study for the grant application to be complete. Speaking of Pine Hill, we were awarded a grant to do a local flood analysis. We have a scheduled public meeting on May 23rd at 7 p.m. at the Pine Hill Community Center. This will be the first of 3 public meetings with the engineering firm hired to conduct the LFA. They'll give us a breakdown on how that they will conduct their study, and this will give us a greater availability and leverage for future grants to repair and upgrade our infrastructure there. We also have a presentation tonight by the Ontario School Board President about their upcoming budget and vote. And after 31 years of dedicated service, we wish a very happy retirement to Patty Heinz. Patty has worked for 7 supervisors and a town clerk, and long deserves a welcome break. Congrats, Patty. Supervisor's report for April 22 revenues. Vital statistics, $270. Planning board, $275. Ambulance fees, $9,137.97. Town clerk fees, $102.50. Cell tower, $1,379.95. Zoning fees, $100. Building permit fees, $4,867. Dog license fees, $33.50. Police fees, $15. Central printing and mail, $7.33. Hawk, Phoenicia water reimbursement, $3,314.28 for a total of $19,502.53.
I have to find my stuff.
Communications.
I have. Okay, so this Friday, the DMV bus is here at the town hall, as you all should know. The first Friday of the month, they're here 10 to 1, 2 to 3. But also, I believe for the next few months, Mobile County government will be here as well at the same time, Friday, May 6, 10 to 3:30. Representatives from the Department of Social Services, Office for the Aging, Veteran Services, Office of Employment and Training, and Office of Economic Development will also be here to assist any citizens that need their help. You don't have to make an appointment, just stop by. So it should be pretty busy here Friday, I hope. I hope that you will use these services so that the county keeps bringing them to us. So that's, again, it's going to be this Friday behind the town hall. The DMV bus will be here, and mobile county government. And also, in case you don't know and you didn't get the alert and nobody's told you, the annual burning ban is still in effect until May 14th. Is that Rick? All residential brush burning is prohibited in smaller communities during the state's historically high fire risk period from March 16th through May 14th. Several factors enable wildfires to start easily and spread quickly at this time, including the lack of green vegetation, abundance of available fuels such as dry grass and leaves, warm temperatures, and wind. So we've had this in place since 2009, and it is state law, and you'll be able to get free burning permits at the town clerk's office on Monday, May 16th. And that's it. And of course, all our events and things going on are listed on our website, shandaken.us. That's it.
Thank you, Joyce. Welcome, Board President.
Thank you. Thank you, Supervisor DeScalfani. Thank you, members of the board and community members. Thank you for allowing us to present our budget. I have the 2022-23 budget proposal for Ontario Central School District. That's your school district, and we're proud to have you as part of our community and for us to be part of your community. I will just start by saying that normally the superintendent or the business superintendent would be making this presentation. I'm going to take this off too. I will promise to say I don't know. If you ask a question and I don't know the answer, but I will get the answer for you as soon as possible. So the goals of this budget, we wanted to continue all of our pre-pandemic programs. We have an active learning space initiative, and we wanted to expand on that. We have we are increasing our summer school funding because there has been quite a bit of a slide during the pandemic, so we have extra needs in sort of keeping our students supported over the summer and getting them back to where they ordinarily would have been without these last couple of years. We're increasing homework and after school homework help and supervision. And we're allocating additional funds for mental health support because this has been a growing need with the pandemic. We have some equipment that we're going to, a new snowplow and a new school bus. So with that, our tax levy last year was $45,557,000. Our tax levy this year is $544,000 higher. It's $46 million. Our state aid is up $475,000. We get $10,297,000 from the state. So we're moving an appropriated fund balance of $2,962,000 into the general fund to help offset the tax levy. We're going to transfer $750,000 from the general fund to the capital fund to abate deteriorating asbestos in our buildings. This has been an ongoing project for the last couple of years. And there is a second proposition. There'll be two propositions on the ballot this year. One is to approve the budget, and the other is a $675,000 proposition to fix the exterior doors at Phoenicia and Woodstock, as well as their sidewalks and access ramps. We have $165,000 in ARP funds. That's a COVID recovery program. Funds that we're going to use for a generator at Bennett. Another $550,000 in ARP funds for a generator and a generator at the middle school, high school. An $802,000 transfer from the general fund to the capital fund, and CRRSA. Let me see if it's COVID Relief and Recovery Supplementals. This is for the High Ropes project for the high school. $1,995,000 combined ARP and CRSSA funds to renovate middle school, high school, middle school and high school facilities. Are there any questions so far? No? And if anybody here has any questions, you can email us. You can go to our website, ontiora, boe.k12.ny.us, and we will get you your
I have a
questions.
question.
Yes,
On the generator, would that allow them to go to school when the electric's out in Olive?
that is the hope, yes.
So all the classes, the whole building would be run?
I can't answer that for sure, but I will get back to you.
That's a
But that
lot of
is-
money if it's not.
Well, I mean,
You know,
that is,
That's a lot of money.
as you know, we lose a lot of,
We lose a lot of
of
time.
days here. One
Yep.
thing that sort of came through COVID is that we can do some remote education, but that doesn't really.
Most everybody's out, so. but if you're
Yeah,
in,
but
yeah.
plus not everybody, even on the best of days, has connectivity where they
Right.
live, as you know, all 300 square miles of the district, there are little pockets everywhere, whether you're, in Big Indian or Woodstock, all the way. So yes, I will confirm
Yeah, I
that for
was
you,
just
but that is the hope. So,
Got a question behind him.
I'm sorry.
He's got a question.
Oh, yes.
seem like a nice fella, they breed your wolves, and I wanted to talk to
You guys don't seem like wolves. There's about 10 times as many of you here as I've ever seen at a school board meeting, though.
you. In any event, how many students do you have,
We have 1,160 students.
and what did you have last year?
Last year, a little bit more, maybe give or take the same, but 20 some years ago, we probably had twice as many students.
Well, I know, Phoenicia School, my brother graduated there, there were 550 kids, and now it's 90, I hear?
In the incoming class, yes. I mean, our class sizes vary from, I think we have one cohort that is maybe 120 kids. We have cohorts that are 90 kids, yeah.
And that, in the Phoenicia School. Now, why is the budget going up when the attendance is coming down?
That's a good question. So one thing is that $18 million of this budget goes to health insurance and benefits. That's the cost of, that's 1/3 of our budget. Also, it is public education's, sorry, I'm trying to address both sides.
You
of
can
the
address
room.
this way, because the cameras,
Okay.
we're on live.
So,
also.
thank you. I know you get to see the back of my head. It's quite beautiful. But so public education is for every student. So from kindergarten till graduation or the age of 21, whatever your needs are, public education is required to meet them. So that means students who have special needs, we're proud to serve those needs, and that sometimes costs extra money. So it's not just a matter of we have 1,160 kids who walk into a classroom and sit down and are served by the same teachers. Okay, so we have lots of special programs. We also have 300 square miles in our district. Transportation is expensive, gasoline is expensive, labor is expensive to move those children. So just our transportation costs, let me see if he has it broken down here. On the handout that you have, we don't have our, and I'm using yours, we don't have our transportation costs, but they're significant. Fuel to heat buildings is, probably 10 times what it was 20 years ago. So there's a number of costs. Labor, we are one of the largest employers in the county, and proud to be so, and we kept everybody employed during the pandemic, and that was one of our goals. So I hope that answers your question.
Well, not really.
It never does.
Do you have a more specific?
Well, it's just that when you have less students, and I mean a drastic amount in the elementary school from 550 to 90,
That's 90 per cohort. There's 4 cohorts, so we have I think Phoenicia Elementary has 200 and some students, Woodstock a few more than that, and then Bennett Elementary also.
well, in any event, I just can't see this cost going up all the time here. You know, I had an Italian grandmother and a German grandmother. Three things they said: sacrifice, do without, and make do with what you have. They always said that. And this is what you have to do. You have to buckle down. We can't be spending this money.
All right, Rick, let him finish.
Thank you for that, and we'll, we're doing our best to keep it buckled down. Are there any other questions? So, tomorrow night we'll have a public hearing at the Board of Education meeting. We rotate through the buildings. Tomorrow night's meeting is at Woodstock. This is probably our 5th meeting back in person since remote meetings. May 17th is the budget vote and board elections. There are 5 candidates running for 3 seats. I hope everybody here votes. We're big on civics at Ontario. It's one of our biggest initiatives, and there will be, I think there is a forum being held to introduce you all to the candidates. That's not something we do, but I believe one of the PTAs is holding a forum. And there will probably be some press. I know in the past when I've run, the newspapers have always run little bits about us. So get to know your candidates, support the ones you like, get out and vote. And then in New York State, if the budget is voted down, there would be a second, a budget revote, and that would happen on June 14th this year. If the budget is voted down 2 times in a row, then we are subjected to austerity measures that are imposed by the state of New York. There's a list of the candidates on the handouts that are here. Let's see if I missed anything. There are absentee ballots available, and you can vote at any of our elementary school buildings. That is Phoenicia, Bennett, and Woodstock. So no matter which part of the district folks are from, they have access to the voting places. Anything else? Thank you so much for your time. We
Thank you.
appreciate the work you do too.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
We're on to committee reports. Rich?
Good evening. The April report for the town of Shandaken ambulance, total calls received was 35. Mutual aid was given 3 times, twice to the town of Olive, once to Woodstock. Mutual aid was not received. Our responders were not only busy this past month running an atypical number of calls for a usually sleepy April, but also busy outfitting and driver training on the new ambulance. We're happy to announce that the new ambulance is in service and, as anticipated, is a hit amongst employees and patients alike. Again, thanks to the town board, as well as the taxpayers of the town, for allowing this much-needed purchase to happen. As nicer weather approaches, outdoor activities abound, as well as those that enjoy a ride. As we habitually see an uptick in auto accidents, auto pedestrian accidents, bicycle accidents, hiker rescues, and other traumatic injuries starting in May, please exercise caution while on the roads, on the trail, or on your bike. Recent events over the past week in and around our town certainly support this statistic, some very sad. COVID update: as of May 2nd, there were 2 active COVID cases in the town of Shandaken. Total cumulative cases in the town since the beginning of the pandemic have reached 306, with 303 thankfully recovered. There is still only 1 fatality accounted for inside the town, and hopefully that number does not change. There are 356 active COVID cases in Ulster County, with cumulative cases in the county reaching 39,806. There are a total of 376 cumulative fatalities since the beginning of the pandemic in the county, with 39,074 individuals recovered. Stay safe out there.
Thanks, Rich.
Thanks.
I didn't get a police report.
I haven't heard from
I didn't
Chad.
get a police report.
I haven't heard from him.
No.
No, nor
I
you.
just checked my email.
Anything from
The
Building.
museum. Not from who?
Building.
Nothing. Hey,
I'm looking.
nothing. Too busy.
Museum. Kyle.
Shandaken Historical Museum's report for April 2022. Visitor numbers are slowly picking up. I have more requests through emails and Facebook than ever before. I'm happy to announce our newest board member is Sandra Valianti. She and Isaac Schwager are Pine Hill residents. A couple of years ago, they acquired the former home of Arthur Brisbane. Isaac Schwager has become an immediate advocate for Pine Hill, and among the improvements to this hamlet, he has generously offered a donation to the Shandaken Historical Museum, which is to paint the exterior of the museum building. This is also a donation to our town as it belongs to the town. I and my board are extremely grateful to them both. We are working closely with John Michelotti, comprising a list of properties for the metal detection group known as the Nor'easters, to come to Shandaken and hold their history hunting event. We're still looking for a few more locations. Please, if anyone would like to support their local museum, this is an easy way to help out. For more information, call 845-254-4460 or email us at shandakenmuseum@gmail.com. Vinnie Sorbellini will be here this week to continue the list of repairs that was approved by the town supervisor. We at the museum would like to thank our town supervisor, Peter Discofani, and the town council for continuing the much-needed repairs and improvements to the building. Thank you for your support. Kathleen Myers, Director Historian.
Thanks, Kyle. Rick, do you want to give a, oh, I'm sorry.
I'm Chandra Valianti. I just joined the board at the last meeting. I know I have to get sworn in.
Or else, yeah.
I wanted to get urgent approval from you because I know we need permission. When we went to our contractor about the painting of the building, he said he could start right away. And so I wanted to just make sure that that was okay. He could start pressure washing tomorrow. So I wanted to get approval from.
Do we need insurance from him? Or?
I need to see bids and,
Well, we are going to pay for it out of pocket. That was
Oh.
one of the.
Yeah, that's what she said.
Basically a donation to us for
Oh.
the museum.
well, that's a different story completely. Sure.
But still, I wanted to make sure that that was okay. and we could
Does he have to be
proceed.
insured?
Do we need insurance or anything, or can
Or we
anybody do
cover
it?
I don't
Do
know.
we cover insurance on something like that?
Are they an insured, reputable company?
Yes, he's a local, Joe Ryan, he's the,
Yeah, it's all good.
Yep.
Oh, Joe Ryan.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
All right.
we know Joe.
so yeah,
Okay,
so it's Joe.
all right.
Sounds
All
good to
in
me.
favor?
Aye.
Make the motion, okay.
So he's going to pressure wash it and paint it. It's going to be left the same colors as it is now.
Perfect,
All spruced up.
perfect.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I'm sorry if I butchered your last name.
It's Valentine.
Valianti, okay.
Thank you very much. Okay, Rick, did you want to say something about Phoenicia Water? No. Okay,
More about the
that's
school
too
board?
bad.
I told you today.
You did. There's a few breaks, at least one big one. Rick is attending to it. Okay, we're open for public comments on resolutions.
2 minutes, right?
Please keep your comments to 2 minutes.
I'm gonna do a timer.
Stand and state your name.
I'd like to speak if I may, and I'm happy to weigh in for it.
Go to the microphone, Maureen, please.
I'm gonna because
Please.
I watch this on the thing all the time.
Thank you.
I can't hear anybody, so I.
See, now you know why.
Talking in your microphone.
Thanks.
Hi, everybody. There's so much to talk about.
2 minutes.
I'm Maureen Miller. I won't talk more than 2 minutes. You can bing my bing. Thank you, everyone, for all your efforts on the behalf of the residents of the town of Shandaken. I've lived here for 40 years in Mount Tremper. I am not a STR owner. I am an STR neighbor. It has not been my best life experience at all. And I've interestedly watched all the meetings regarding STR. I recently watched the April meeting regarding the fee schedule, and I want to remind people that we have a law to protect the rights of residential homeowners to have neighbors, not guests. We have a right to be willing to be a neighbor and not have to have the effect of commercial development in our backyard. So I applaud everybody's attempt. I recognize, as a friend to many STR renters and as a resident of town watching buildings be dragged out of obscurity to rent, that's not a bad thing. I'm in, okay? But there has to be a limit. And I'm happy to please, I saw your meeting. I thought it looked like everybody sort of agreed on the fee schedule, sort of agreed on the law. I implore you to move ahead tonight so that we can understand how we will move forward. And to those who say the fee is too much, what is the fee to going into a commercial business? Every day, every year, every month. The town of Shandaken doesn't owe STR renters the right to be commercial in residential areas. Thanks for your patience. I have a lot of friends whose lives will be changed by this, but that's what a law does. It's equal to everyone.
Thank you, Mike.
That was right on time.
Hit the bell.
No,
No. Just state where you live and your name, Hank.
My name is Hank Williams. I live in Woodland Valley. I was part of the SDR committee. At one point, it seems like only yesterday when the town was overrun or invaded by the house sharing community. And we've tried our best to utilize the zoning codes to change the existing residents that were residents in certain neighborhoods to commercial properties or change of use. To date, that hasn't worked, and I see that we're getting down to the wire on the STR law, which I think is good for the town. However, it is just a way of circumventing and changing the zoning codes, or actually changing the zoning codes to accommodate home sharing individuals. And I think it isn't a good idea to have a residential neighborhood that is turning mostly commercial. And if you look at some of the small properties in Woodland Valley and the houses close together, one of the things that you took out of the regulations of the law that you had over and over was the removal of garbage cans from the street within a 24-hour period of pickup. Nobody I heard objected to that from the home sharing community during all of the discussions, but it miraculously disappeared. The second thing is that there is no limit on residents for how many SDRs they can have. However, that also includes corporations. People will change their addresses as they did to have septic systems put in by the city of New York. So if a corporation changes an address to an existing address in Phoenicia, a corporation can buy as many as they want. So there's nothing really, well, thank you for hearing.
Thank you.
Thanks, Hank.
Hopefully this is everything.
Yeah, the garbage can is part of town hall already, so
Right.
it was redundant.
thank you.
Yes, I have something to say. Resolution 73.
Can you,
Yes,
please?
Sure,
Phil, let me know he can't hear you.
yes. That's right. Tina Rice from Woodland Valley. Hi. Tina Rice from Woodland Valley.
Do you want to read that?
Does no one have an issue with an elected official being hired under Article 18, Ethics Code, State of New York?
Well, I called the Department of State.
Okay, so who did you talk to there?
I talked to Patricia Burke, local government specialist. But I didn't know, I mean, she said if there's something in your local code that precludes it, then we shouldn't do it, but
Well, according to Article 18 from the Comptroller's Office,
And I talked to the comptroller
It's-
also,
it's-
and the comptroller's office said there was no problem with it.
well, in it states that elected officials' positions be above reproach. So, I don't know, it's just, it's iffy. It is really questionable. So I just want to know.
Everyone
you
I talked
five,
with.
Did anybody on the board have an issue with this? Kevin?
Yeah, I had asked Pete, because obviously there was, on the surface, a conflict of interest, and he assured me he talked to somebody at the State Department. As of today, I went down, I said, I think it's better that we have him in writing. He supplied me with email communication from the State Department, and for the moment, that's good enough for me.
Okay. So
But,
that's a
yes, there was
foilable-
definitely questions.
That's a foilable email,
Yeah,
correct?
he's got it right there.
Thank you.
Anyone else want to speak about resolutions?
I'm back again. And again, Phil Monis, I'm at New York. I'm looking again at your fee schedules. I still think they're excessive. I think you really should truly revisit it, okay? Being a non-resident individual, and I'm here all the time, okay? Probably here more than a lot of other people. The fact of the matter is, I'm looking at this cost and it is truly excessive. Why do you want to antagonize non-residents? And I agree with you about corporations. I truly do. It is upsetting, and I know what's happening. I am not a corporation. I am an individual. Okay? I pay taxes, I pay school taxes, and I'm looking at the costs on this, and I still can't. If you could justify the cost of this for 300 residents supposedly, or 300 STRs in this town, I would probably abide by it. But I'm having a very difficult time trying to grapple with it. Thank you.
Welcome.
Good evening. Angelo DeSico. I live up on Vauxhall Road, number 51. I just have a couple of questions, clarifying questions about the language in the draft bill, if that's okay?
Certainly.
Okay. So, will all STRs be inspected with the existing buildings chapter of the New York State Uniform Code? I know that it says Chapter 74, Fire Safety, but that does reference back to the Uniform Code.
We're in New York. It's what we have to go by. It's what our inspectors are trained by. Also, there's just a part of the code that they go by. It's, I believe, Appendix J. That deals with residential structures, 1 and 2 family residential structures.
Okay. And that's part of the existing building code?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Will pre-code, does that include pre-code homes? Will they be inspected for code compliance, uniform code compliance?
They'll be inspected for what they are. I mean, if you have a pre-code home, basically we're going in and we're still treating you like a residence. And if you're if your house dates before the code, then you'll be treated as such.
Okay.
You won't be told to tear out your staircase and put in a regulation
Right.
staircase, or tear out your
Or
doors.
if your deck's a little too high, right, without having a barrier.
As long as you have railings and your steps are sturdy, you have the right amount of smoke detectors. The main salient points that we commented on or
Yeah.
referenced.
All right, I just want to make sure there's still an effect since our conversation, because it did change, so I just want to make sure it's still the same deal.
Yeah, it's calling it one thing, but it's all under the New York State Uniform Code.
Okay, and parking would fall under that as well? It's part of the same code?
Well, parking is not part of the building code.
Okay.
Parking is-
Driveway requirements? Not.
That's part of our town code.
Okay. Okay. That's all I had. And again, thank you to the board for for working with us over these past few months. I know it's been it's been a long road. So I just want to say I appreciate it again. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I'm not sure, I came in late, so I'm not sure if somebody mentioned this, but there was something.
Can you just state your name, please, and where you live?
Gail Margulis, Woodland Valley Road. There was something in the document that said that there should be no more than 20 people to a party. 20 people to a party in a small neighborhood is a lot of people. Where you're gonna park, how much noise, I mean, we're talking about residential neighborhoods, this is a big deal. We wouldn't be here if it wasn't a big deal. We understand that people need to have homes and they need to get some money from it. But we are really talking about changing a neighborhood when you're saying, okay, I can have 19 people at this party. Think about it, think about these homes. So anyway, for me, that's an issue. I think that's too many for a party. They can go somewhere, rent a hall for a party. Go to the Pines, go someplace local.
Yeah.
But don't stay in a residential area. That's what I think.
Thank you.
Mr. Stanley, would like your attention.
No, Howie's coming up.
Rob Stanley, Pine Hill. My only concern with this is for the neighbors. I know that you have a clause in there that says to notify the neighbors within 250 yards or feet or whatever it was. My concern is that there's no recourse for the neighbor. The neighbor's getting a letter saying that a business is opening next to you and it can open within the next 30 or 60 days. The neighbor then might have an issue. They might want hedges. They might want something to visually block or break them from the neighboring property. In a site plan or a normal process, that would come up and the planning board would say something, could you put a hedge up or a fence or whatever it may be, and they rectify it and it's resolved and they move on as neighbors. Here, it's creating a situation where you can get a civil action going between neighbors because they won't settle it. Some of them may, but some of them won't. And I think there needs to be an action taken where the neighbor can send a letter in and say, I would like to make comment on this, and then we see where it goes from there. Whether it needs to go to another board and be heard, or whether they can resolve it civilly. So I just think there should be a way for the neighbor to contact the town to say, I might have a small issue, the headlights hit my windows, something like that. So, thank you.
From Mount Tremper, formerly Woodland Valley. When I was building inspector, it was reported to me by the fire chief that there was a structural fire on Gooding Road. I went to inspect. The chief told me that none of the fire alarms went off. The people who owned the property on Gooding Road that were using it as an STR owned 3 other properties in the vicinity. I went to the second house. I found the smoke detectors in a clothing drawer. They'd all been taken down. They're very easy to take down. I went to a third property, and which was also an STR, and there were no egress windows in the entire place. Is that kind of thing going to be allowed if you have no egress windows? If the second story has no egress windows, are people going to be allowed to rent that out as a commercial issue? But my suggestion is that
It's got to pass our building code, but our attorney has told us that we treat these places as if they were residences.
But they're not a residence anymore. They become a commercial rental.
I get it.
So anyway, my suggestion would be for the fire alarms that you should insist on a tamper-proof device that can't be taken off the wall just by the twist of a hand. So that building on Gooding Road, the fire started in a fireplace, which was right adjacent to the only door in and out of the house. 6 people could have died that night, and none of the smoke detectors were working.
neighbor. I live in Shandaken. And I just wanted to second these two gentlemen's comments about the fee structure. I know that a lot of work has been going on for months. I'm grateful to everybody who's been involved. But, you know, my home in Shandaken is my only home. I do not have a second home, and I rent it out when I travel for work. And I do find that the cost structure is quite prohibitive, and it's really different than a lot of other cost structures from other neighboring towns. So I just would like a bit more clarity on that point. And I really echo the point about commercial investors. If there, I don't know if it's too far advanced, but if there's anything to build in to prevent, you know, major corporations from moving in and snapping up STRs, I would definitely be in favor of that. Thank you.
Anyone care to say anything?
I actually do. I was waiting to the end.
Okay. I mean, we could address this on an amended in a year.
Yeah, there have been some good points brought up tonight. But one more that is partly in response related to the last comment. And I know I've been working on this for a number of years, back with Hank in the beginning, which wasn't even the beginning. There was a beginning before that beginning. And one of the intents of this law, was to try and reduce the absentee, I'll call them foreign, as in not Shandaken-based corporations, not individuals who don't live here but have spent a lot of time here. There's a type of STR owner we always talked about in the STR committee meetings that we want, and there's a type that we don't want. And I'm not sure that we've really achieved that. And in fact, our fee structure, if you're a corporation who's bought a house solely for the purpose of making money, I don't think these fees are restrictive. So it was proposed to me a while ago by a few members of the community that we have some kind of waiting period. When you buy a property in the town of Shandaken for the first 6-8 months, a year, you may not apply for an STR license. While that will not affect all the people who already live here, it will make corporations who are looking to make a quick buck think twice before they buy here. It is being done. Other towns are doing this. And I found it, and of course I can't remember, it might have been Marbletown, it might have been Hudson. Somebody in New York State, another town, was doing that, so I still want to check with the lawyer, but apparently it's viable, something I'd like to consider adding. Unfortunately, additive means we need a public hearing, if I'm not mistaken. And believe me, I want to wrap this up as soon as possible, but I want to do it right.
And would that be your only change?
Well, no, I would like the chance to discuss some of the points that did come up tonight. As I said, there were a number of good ones that
We
did
were
come
done
up
with
tonight.
comments, or
Sure,
we're
sure,
done?
sure, yeah.
Then we're gonna get into a public hearing. I thought we were done with the comments from the public.
Can I do it, or it's up to you?
I don't have to be last.
Well, we were waiting till they were done, and
Well, let 'em
then we're
talk.
gonna
I
go
was
back and
wrong.
forth.
Yes, you can speak.
Okay, my name is James Cope. I was just thinking about the people that rent their homes out, as she said, very infrequently in a year. I know that we get fee tax amounts from the county. If you had a threshold for those people who rent their homes out very infrequently, if you set a threshold that they didn't get up to, they could get a reduced fee. In other words, somebody who rents their home out 10 times a year versus somebody who rents it out 200 times a year, why should the person who rents their home out 10, 20 times a year pay the same fee as somebody who pays all the time? You can get that data from Ulster County, put in a really simple formula of how many bedrooms they have or not with a certain threshold, and determine people who are renting very infrequently and give them a break, because they don't deserve to pay the same amount of somebody who's renting all the time.
Understood.
Thank you.
The question would be is if we could verify, if we could, I mean,
County doesn't
the,
give us that
the,
info.
the info we're getting from Ulster County isn't always all that accurate.
No, I'm talking about the data from Airbnb.
Well, how do we know it's just Airbnb? How do we know they don't rent it on 3 or 4 other platforms?
We did.
What is the proof of that?
Yeah, that is something we talked about a number of times, and it always came down to, if I tell you right here, if you just tell me you only rented it half the time you did, and when I look at your Airbnb, your VRBO, your home away, or your driveway, and you're like, no, I blocked those out because that's my cousin. Oh, no fee then.
It's all
It
a
was
good
one of the
i-
things that.
all a good idea, but-
I totally agree with the concept, but we'd never come up with a way to enforce it or to track it
Verify
or
it.
verify it
Yeah.
that was reliable. There are people who own properties in this town who may not be as honest as some others. I hear.
I mean, there are, and your point is correct. We could put something in there that would give a 6-month or a year stay on anybody who wanted to be an STR. We could put a couple of other instances or ideas to work in there. But we have been working for a few years on getting this law getting it some feet, and we could make amendments to it in 6 months to a year also.
But if we have the idea right now, why not just?
Yeah.
And look, I want to move forward too, but
Oh,
I
I'm
think
done,
maybe
but
one
yeah.
last push. I know, I'm sorry. But I'm just thinking about it because I came ready to vote.
As did I.
4 great points were brought up.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
so it might be in our best interest.
Yeah. It wouldn't hurt.
Again.
I think that 20 people, you're right, we came up with that number. I mean, 2 guys who spoke up tonight in the front row, you were on the committee with me and in the back of the house.
And the former supervisor
And we
who's
all
been
came up with that
playing
number,
with
but
this for how long? And
there's a little one in downtown Phoenicia that I'm like, oh my goodness, 20 people in that yard? No
Yeah.
way, so maybe, I don't know the answer, but maybe but there are properties where 20 is not a problem, so I don't know how to deal with that
How
one,
do
but
you deal with that? How do you
I
say,
bet
oh.
we could have a better idea than no idea.
Isn't that covered by 2 people per bedroom now?
Well, that's who can
That's
stay,
not
not who can
who
show
can
up for a
stay, but
garden
not a
party that
party.
afternoon till 11 o'clock at night.
you can have
Yeah.
1-bedroom house.
Two separate, yeah.
Yeah, you can have a 1-bedroom house and still have a party with 20 people, but you can have a 10-bedroom house and,
I don't have to be in this yard, I would have a party.
Exactly.
Nobody's gonna tell me I have too many people in my yard.
We're right next to somebody. We're right next to somebody.
yeah, but if somebody just lived there, if they were not even STR, if they were just a couple of people who lived there, and they had their family over,
Tell us if they're gonna have a party.
how do we,
Every weekend.
I'd be invited.
The issue is by the time they have a party, and you call
The police?
and the party's over.
yeah, you call the police.
Is the verbiage party referencing a party?
No, it's
referencing
just
a group of people, right?
Group of people, it's a
I
group.
think we're getting
It's a
caught up
group.
on the word party. It's not
Yeah.
an actual festivity. It's a group of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gathering.
It's a group of people.
A gathering, yeah.
Got a first-time speaker in that.
Sir?
My name is O'Connor, I live in town here. Just have a question, what constitutes an STR? Does the Emerson constitute an STR? Does,
No.
No, that's a hotel.
okay, well, what?
Short-term rental is for somebody who has a residence or a house, but a residence that they've turned into a business, where they rent it out
What
on
about
a weekly
Phoenicia
or...
Lodge?
Under 30 days,
Right.
any amount of time under 30 days.
What Phoenicia Lodge or Simpler Time?
Those are commercial properties.
That's all.
I believe
Those
they
are-
have a separate
Those
license.
are
to operate.
businesses already.
Well, they're still short-term rentals, though.
Yes, they are, but they're a hotel or a motel. It's a business, a commercial business. STRs are not commercial business, even though they do some business. It's in a home.
Okay, what if it's,
It's not commercial.
Hey, we can do this at a public hearing if we're all
One-
gonna
one
yell at
at
each
a-
other. This is
one
not
at a
how
time.
town board
One
meetings
at a
run,
time.
okay?
Okay, well, I just didn't understand why some are considered STRs and some are not. If they're commercial businesses, if I could go out and get a commercial license.
Yes.
Then I wouldn't be under this subject of an STR.
Right.
Correct.
Okay,
Right.
that's cool. All right.
You could come to the planning board, have your public hearings, and do everything that you need to do, and make sure that somebody lives on the premises while you're open. Then you can be a hotel, an inn, or a motel, or a B&B. That's legal in our code book.
So,
All right, so what are the issues that you want to wait for? The tamper-proof fire alarm, what about where Rob's at? Is there a way to go to the planning board with these? Like if you-
No, that,
Is there any way to?
Well, that was with when there's a complaint, when the neighbors are notified, and one of the neighbors has a problem. It has come up before, and I'm sorry, and as I don't recall right now.
if the
was
neighbor
there
has a
recourse?
problem, they contact the zoning office, the zoning building office, and put forward a complaint. The zoning officer or CEO goes and investigates. If they find that complaint is valid, they will write up a notice of violation or a warning, a 30-day warning to rectify or cure the problem. If that isn't fixed in 30 days, then they're given a notice of violation, which point they have to go, Rob, and go to court.
You're talking about a violation, that's different than a neighbor asking to have some kind of courtesy made for them. During the planning board and the site plan process, again, you're gonna do those things, the work goes out between the neighbors. Here, what you're talking about and describing is that if the neighbor comes and says, oh, they've got a violation on their property, that's different
Yeah.
than what I'm talking about. I'm talking about letting the neighbor, we know one, for instance, up in Woodland Valley that went through it last year where the neighbor's headlights were going into this people's front window.
Yep.
And they went to the fence. Other people who got upset about the fence. So it was little things like that that could be resolved really easily with just going through a process that allows the recourse. There's no recourse in this law for the zoning officer to receive a letter, one, back from the neighbor. There's nothing in there to say that the neighbor can send back and blah, 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 as you described. There's nothing in there that does that.
I mean, short of a site plan review, this is why we did this whole law this way, so there wouldn't be every STR going to the planning board.
So there would be a planning board review if a neighbor complained?
Just sending a letter to the person saying, hey, the business is operating next to you, and you might want to make comment.
Okay.
What you're saying right now is you're gonna send a letter and go, business is gonna open up next to you within the 30 days, good luck.
And
Okay, no,
well,
never
what are you
really thought.
suggesting? Send a letter to who?
Allow, that you allow the neighbor 30 days to respond to the letter they received saying that somebody licensed.
which, we had talked about this, during the workshops, that municipalities have done it a couple of different ways. One way is to send those letters out, and if there's a complaint, because there won't always be, right? But if there is, then the planning board would address it. We've seen it a million times. They're not divorce attorneys, they're not there to clean up people's personal relationships. But as you're saying, if there's a line of sight issue, a noise issue, a fence or a hedge that can fix, sure. Another way that municipalities have done it is a grievance committee, which, we have a hard time getting volunteers for certain things in this town. I don't know if that would be one. But, that's someone, they have a committee, and when a complaint comes in, then they would deal with it. So maybe it's something we can address if we decide to do another workshop.
Which is, I'm thinking this is
We have to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
One of the problems with SDRs is that you're not gonna get a lot of volunteers, and that includes the zoning board, planning.
Of
fire
course.
department, and all of that. The question that I really wanted to ask was the violation category. If the violation involves the health and safety of the general public, meaning the people that are renting the SDR, are they gonna continue to operate while the violation exists, or are they gonna have to stop renting that building or apartment or room until the violation
If the building inspector goes in and sees a violation so egregious, they're going to put a stop right there and then.
And they won't be able to rent from that point on until the violation is.
Correct. And that will actually double the fines if they continue to rent. But if it's just a regular, they'll just get a warning, 30 days to fix.
They shouldn't be able to rent.
No, of course,
The fine is if they defy that and rent anyway.
But yeah, how are you gonna prevent it? You're just gonna have to notate it, and it will add to their violation.
Can
I mean, we're not sending the police with firearms and.
At the risk, because this is now turning into a public hearing?
Yeah.
Can I make a motion that we table
Please,
69 and
thank you.
70 in favor of a workshop and a
Thank
public
you,
hearing
yes.
before the next meeting?
Very good.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. So what date?
2 weeks? Can we do it in 2 weeks so we can get it for the next?
What day can you be there?
Oh, you? 2 weeks in a day.
Not Thursdays, that's perfect.
How many days does it have to be?
We need.
We have a workshop, not voting, the workshop?
No.
Workshop in 5 days.
Within a week or so.
I can do any day next week.
We're at, May 2nd. So the 9th or 10th?
Perfect.
Yeah, I can do either.
Either one.
10th.
10th.
9th or, I can do 9th or 10th. Sorry. No, I can do 9th or 10th.
The 9th or 10th? Monday or Tuesday?
9th is a little bit better.
Tuesday? Perfect.
We can do better.
Let's do
Yeah, that's
6.
just for me. It's okay. We can do either day.
You said Tuesday, right?
6 o'clock?
Yeah, they're Tuesday, so
Tuesday the 10th.
Tuesday at 6.
10th.
6:30, 7? 6:30.
6:30 better? Okay.
Perfect.
6:30.
I make a motion
The
that
10th,
we
right?
make a motion, we have a workshop meeting Tuesday, the 10th at 6:30.
Do you want to do the public hearing for the June meeting, or,
Yeah,
the June
before the
meeting?
June meeting,
Okay.
right. Robert. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's all right.
Right.
I had a feeling.
Yep. Make a motion to establish a public hearing at 6:30 PM before the June town board meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great.
Seems like the town board meetings have become an SDR committee.
Yeah.
Okay, then, that next meeting is, June.
Couldn't think of the word.
4, 5, 6, 6th. 6. 6:30.
All right, moving on to resolutions.
Okay. We're gonna move on to resolutions.
Resolution 6822, resolution to pay all bills. Whereas the Department of Audit and Control require town boards to sign and inspect all vouchers coming into the town for payment to number and total amounts from each fund. Therefore, be it resolved that the town board authorize the following vouchers paid. General, $202,262.20. Highway, $142,274.22. Phoenicia Water, $8,090.99. Pine Hill Water, $2,744.54. Phoenicia Lights, paid by monthly, do we have numbers? No?
No, you have to just say it's paid by monthly now, because they don't get the bills.
They'll get it next month.
Okay. Chichester Lights, paid by monthly. Pine Hill Lights, paid by monthly, for a total of $377,466.95, and move its adoption.
Second. Sorry, I was reading.
Board Member Drake?
Yes.
So we had a problem.
Yes.
Board Member Steen?
Yes.
Board Member Hillbarger?
Yes.
Yes.
So 69's been tabled.
70 tabled.
71 tabled.
72.
72, Resolution 72, 2022, Marriage Officer Ricardo O'Connor. Whereas pursuant to New York State domestic relations law, the governing body of a municipality has the right to appoint marriage officer who shall have the authority to solemnize a marriage with the territorial jurisdiction of such municipality, and which marriage shall be valid if performed in accordance with other provisions of law. And whereas according to said law, the marriage officer appointment is valid for a period of 4 years, an officer shall receive no salary or wage and is authorized to accept and keep up to $75 for each marriage that he or she officiates, to be paid by or on behalf of the persons married. Whereas Ricardo O'Connor, a resident of the town of Shandaken, has requested the town board to reappoint her to the position of marriage officer for the period of 4 years, or until such time as her appointment is withdrawn pursuant to Domestic Relations Law 11C, whichever comes first. Now therefore be it resolved that Ricardo O'Connor be appointed Town of Shandaken Marriage Officer. This resolution shall take effect immediately upon appointment expires May 1st, 2026, and move its adoption.
Second.
Board Member Drake?
Yes.
Board Member Nysel?
Yes.
Board Member Steen?
Yes.
Board Member Van Blarkum?
Yes, thank you.
Supervisor DeSclafani?
What's your name?
Yeah, Van Blarkum, it's Dutch.
Resolution 73, 22, zoning enforcement officer. Whereas under section 20 of the town law, the town board shall designate all appointed officers and employees of the town. Therefore, be it resolved that the following personnel be appointed to the Shandaken zoning enforcement as Shandaken zoning officer. Grace Grant, $350 per week, not to exceed $12,000 per year for the fiscal 2022 year, and serves at the pleasure of the town board. I move its adoption.
Second.
Board Member Drake?
Yes.
Board Member Nysel?
Yes.
Board Member Steen?
Yes.
Board Member Van Blarkum?
Yes.
Supervisor DeSclafani?
Yes.
Resolution 74, 2022, Pine Hill Stormwater Engineering. Whereas the town of Shandaken, hamlet of Pine Hill, experiences frequent localized street flooding from stormwater runoff along Main Street. Whereas this flooding impacts the residential and commercial areas and causes erosion and transports eroded material into Birch Creek and its tributaries. Whereas in 2007 and 2017, the town of Shandaken initiated a stormwater retrofit project to address these issues and retained SLR Engineering, formerly known as Malone and McBoom Incorporated, to develop design plans for stormwater improvement. Therefore, be it resolved, the town has determined it would like to continue working with SLR to move this project forward. The town board hereby approves of the supervisor to enter into any contracts with SLR Engineering to develop a Pine Hill stormwater feasibility study. Therefore, be it further resolved, the town board authorizes the supervisor to spend no more than $8,000 for engineering a parcel SBL 4.46-4-30 as a suitable treatment area for stormwater infrastructure, pending agreement contract with parcel owner, and moves its adoption.
Second.
Board Member Drake?
Yes.
Board Member Nysel?
Yes.
Board Member Steen?
Yes.
Board Member Van Blarkum?
Yes.
Supervisor DeSclafani?
Yes.
Resolution number 75, appoint volunteer cemetery board members. Whereas the town board of the town of Shandaken recognizes there are many, 29, cemeteries within the town of Shandaken that are considered abandoned and in need of maintenance and cleanup on a regular basis. Whereas pursuant to section 165 of the New York State Cemetery Board law, municipality is authorized and empowered to establish volunteer cemetery maintenance and cleanup programs to maintain abandoned cemeteries contained with their municipality. Within, that's okay. Whereas pursuant to section 20 of town law, it is the duty of the town board to appoint all boards and commissions. Therefore, be it resolved that the town board of the town of Shandaken hereby appoint as voluntary cemetery board members Ken Herdman, Teresa Grant, Carl Peterson, Brian Grant, and Barbara Lombaca. Be it further resolved that the town of Shandaken reappoints Joyce Grant as sexton of the Shandaken Rural Cemetery and will continue to observe the laws, rules, and regulations as stated in section 1507 of the New York State Cemetery Board and move its adoption.
Second.
Board Member Drake?
Yes.
Board Member Nysel?
Yes.
Board Member Steen?
Yes.
Board Member Van Blarkum?
Yes.
Supervisor DeSclafani?
Yes. Thank you, Joyce.
Any,
Okay, open public comment.
Regarding, Isaac Schweiger, Pine Hill, regarding the Pine Hill stormwater abatement, thank you very much. That's so important to so many people in town. The parcel that was identified as being part of the survey, did I understand correctly that there is something in place to have the town purchase that parcel as part of the abatement program?
That's what we just passed.
That was my question, but I don't know what that parcel number is, so is that the problem parcel that we've been discussing for
Yes.
many months? Terrific, I've got nothing to say. Thank you.
There you go.
Greg, you there?
Rick?
What about Phoenicia, 214, that should be all dug out again. And by the water plant, it must be at least 1,500 feet of sand and gravel that's going up at least 6 or 8 feet. And the next flood we get is going to take the road out. Does anybody?
Well, to address 214, I was speaking with DOT a couple of months ago, complaining that in the 35 years I've been here, they have never completely resurfaced Route 214. Little patch here, little patch there. And he promises me, if you can, Dave Carrigan. Corrigan. Dave Corrigan from New York State DOT promises me that in 23, at the latest 24, they will redo all of Route 214 to the county line.
Well, that's not the problem.
Well, it's one of the problems.
Dig out the creek from past the school all the way down to the Shandaken.
Well, yeah.
And you get up in the Woodland Valley, past the ski slope, that's gonna go out again too. They gotta dig that out. Now, if they don't do these things, then,
Well, you know as well as I do, Rick, that nothing happens until it floods, and then, it's an emergency.
But I will say, like, as it pertains to Woodland Valley, the DEC is pretty on top of the stream study that they're doing up there. So they're identifying flood hazards, and they'll address them as they need. Yeah.
I'll take your word for that.
Thank you.
Missy?
Because you're touch. Blah, blah, blah.
Hello, Missy B. Pine Hill. I was just informed today of said parcel that I've been in contract with. And to inform you that the water on Main Street goes into my mom's yard for 50 years, directly across from said parcel. So I'm volunteering my mom's whole front yard for your sand pits or your drainage, because that's where it's been going. And I was only informed of this today, and I had 2 rubber duckies that I was gonna bring, and I forgot, because I've been putting them in my mom's front lawn since I was 13 years old. So, but said parcel, I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do about.
You did what you're supposed to do. And, I mean, nothing is in stone right now, so it's good to know.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But I'm sorry I forgot.
Missy, do you know off the top of your head if your mom's parcel's in the floodplain?
Probably.
It is? Okay.
But our front lawn has been the catch drain for all of Main Street. You can look at our driveway, you can look at my neighbor's driveway.
Hopefully, if everything goes as well as planned, it won't do that anymore.
Yeah.
One way or another.
Once the road, Main Street goes like this, back to this, convex canopy.
Yeah, something like that. Vivian?
Do we have an update on the cell tower project?
I'm happy to give a bit of an update there. Thank you, Vivian. So we have reached out to a company called Crown Castle, which is a tower building company, in discussions on trying to move forward with that. They have provided us with what are called ground and option leases, which, if signed, would give them access to certain town parcels in order to do survey. At this point in time, they have their sets of terms. Our lawyer has reviewed those contracts, and we're in some negotiation on that. There are certain terms in that we're happy with, there are other terms that I think we're not, and so the hope there is to come to terms that are agreeable. And again, this would allow them access to do a certain amount of survey. At the same time, I did reach out to a second tower building company to see if they had any interest in providing ground and option leases, if for no other reason, to make sure that we've got something that is competitive and that is something that is reasonable for the town, reasonable for the marketplace. They have shown some amount of interest, but we don't have anything solid from them yet. Lastly, the Ulster County has also had some consideration of building towers. In their case, for the predominant purpose, my understanding is for sort of emergency communications, emergency service communications. But we obviously want to make sure that we're working at least somewhat in tandem and we're not double building anything. So I have been in contact with Dennis Doyle of Ulster County Planning periodically to just see where they're at least at the moment, we appear to be ahead of them. They're currently identifying parcels themselves. So trying to kind of work that through. At the moment, it's a bit of legal back and forth. But the hope is that there may be some occasions soon where we're able to consider those leases, and then they can start their surveying and see whether something can actually be built.
Thanks, Robert.
Yeah.
Molly?
Hi. So my name's Molly, a little short here. I think some of you know that I've been making a fuss about Rail Explorer's plan for night runs on 28, but so far I haven't really addressed the town board. And I wrote down a few questions just to stay focused, but the questions are, does the town board have any say or control over what Rail Explorers do, or is it just the county? And is it just the Shandaken Planning Board that I can address? What say do you have over what happens with Rail Explorers? Do the residents of Shandaken have any say over the new REX plan for night runs, considering the impact and change that it will have on 28? And what role can the town play in a new 5-year contract that's going to be up for Rail Explorers? I have been reaching out to so many different people from the county. I've been sending emails, letters, and I still can't get clear what rights the town has versus the county. I do plan on addressing this with the county further, but I just don't know. What does the town board, what rights do you have over what goes on with Rail Explorers? And are you concerned or looking into their plan for night runs with light effects on Route 28?
Thank you. Really, the only authority we have is with floodplain or building. It is, as you know, a county property, and they set the lease. We don't even have in our code book a law that addresses that as a ride or an entertainment form. We would like to be, we will be with the county at their next lease or release. When that happens, we'll be there with the county. We don't have a lot of power, but we do have some say. The planning board is the body that oversees that kind of thing if we did have.
And that would be the Shandaken Planning Board.
The Shandaken Planning Board, right.
Yeah, and I've already addressed them and sent emails. I just feel like it's extremely impactful, and I think that the town should, the town should know about what's in store. Or we're gonna turn around and there's gonna be colored carts and lit up trees on 28 going until almost midnight. It seems unreasonable that the town people wouldn't be able to weigh in. I've also tried to get through to DOT, the safety issues,
Right, that would be, like, we would have to, have public hearings and create and pass a law that would, control that kind of activity. And that's not in our book right now.
It's not. So back in 2017, Violet Snow wrote an article when the residents on Colebrook Road stopped Rail Explorers from going there. And at the time, Chris White, who ran the planning department, said that the shift from CMRR to Rail Explorers is not considered a change of use since the corridor has been used for rail operations since the 1880s. Therefore, unlike the conversion of the Ashokan Reservoir section from railroad to rail trail, no public hearing was required. So straight out, the county is saying that the public really doesn't have any rights here. So
Yeah, I argued with them on that count because the railroad itself was, it was overseen by some federal agency.
Right.
And then when it closed down and was laid fallow for many years, and it became then a rail ride with just a CMRR. They weren't a railroad, they were a rail ride, and they could have been, and they were under lease with the county and under the county's authority. To change from that to the rail riders is not a change of use, I don't think, but when it changed from the main railroad, it was a change of use. But much time changed.
So basically, short from, the residents getting a lawyer to speak for us, it's really gonna have to be coming at the county, that the town itself, I mean, you'll be there at the lease, but I feel like we residents are gonna have to come on strong with the county to be heard by the county.
Yep.
Otherwise, I feel like they're just
You will have to
greenlighting
unite
everything.
with
And-
everybody on the
and I
road,
would
and
say
that's what
that-
happened with Colebrook Road. They all
Right.
got together, they went to the county meeting.
I just
and-
want to say that this involves everyone in this area. We don't want Route 28 to look like a carnival with colored lights like their tour in Las Vegas. It's completely anti the scenic byway that we are. And I agree that there's a big increase in car accidents. There was one today by the fruit stand. And honestly, I just watched them cross that highway, and I think it's just really risky. So if you don't mind, I made 2 copies of their lease and 2 copies of the article. Can I hand it? Because I think it's important to look over their lease again and be reminded of the origins of.
Certainly, yeah, thank you.
And then I have one more little issue.
I have a quick question. Rail explorers would fall within the provisions of the town noise ordinance, correct?
And noise and light.
Except we don't really have.
If
We have one, just no way to
if we
enforce it.
had-
Yeah.
If we had such a, I mean, we do, but it's a whole, yeah, that's, it would fall under any law that we had or made for the future.
The point being, obviously, we may have the opportunity to reduce some of the nuisance value, even if we have no direct say
Absolutely.
on its licensing.
Right, as if, we had for flooding, we have to make sure that what they do doesn't impact our floodways, and same with building, the building has to pass inspection.
We obviously have some venue, but again, getting.
Somebody brought it up at the planning board, there's maybe a liability issue too, if they're gonna have, 50 Adirondack chairs in a fire pit at the Mount Tremper Depot. I drove by the other day and they were there, the bikes waiting to cross, and there were also 3 cars of fishermen. So you're gonna have a place that anyone in the public can access, but that's under the county. So I'm not sure about liability if someone were to be injured there, how you can have this big thing set up for rail bike participants, and yet the public can just walk in anytime and sit in the chairs or do whatever. So I just think it's such a huge issue, and it just upsets me that I feel like the town has a little say in it. And I really feel a strong need to repeatedly reach out to the county and multiple agencies. And I've been trying, but there just seems to be, I'm not quite getting through to them yet.
Yeah.
And the other issue is, I think we should change the name of Mount Pleasant Road to Mount Dumpster Road, because there are seven dumpsters on that road. Yeah, 7. 5 of them are for the Emerson, and then 2 of them are for the new apartment house. So Chris White, years ago, when he came to help build a fence, he said that was illegal. He said you should do something about it. But now the Emerson, and I don't hate the Emerson, but they moved one of their giant storage units over there as well, and 2 plows. So I just don't know. I think they should at least build a fence around their 5 dumpsters. I think it's just getting out of control. And there's, Chris White says it's illegal. Even if they own part of that property there, it's a residential neighborhood, and 7 dumpsters is just out of control. So. No, I was busy with this issue. The planning board. Okay. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you, Molly.
I just want to clarify, Molly, the reason Rail Explorers doesn't operate in Olive is because the Olive residents got together and went after the county when they were saying what sections you use for certain activities.
Right.
So they stopped that and halted it from them
Yeah.
using that section because of noise control. And that's what stopped the
Yeah.
town. As far as the activities, the town of Chandigan, it's the planning board. Planning board oversees the operation,
Right.
there's a recreational activity within the town of Chandigan, that's how it's permitted.
Right.
home sharing, why can't the town attorney communicate with the county on behalf of the residents of the town of Shandaken to do something about the lighting and, the carnival activities that are going to go on? Why would we have to get together as residents and chip money into a big pot to sue or pursue something that's affecting everybody in town of Shandaken, and anybody that drives through it?
That's a good question. I'll take it up with the town board at the next workshop meeting. Howie.
Is it appropriate for me to speak to my issue right now?
Sure.
Sure.
What do you gotta say?
Open public meeting.
So, Howie McGowan is my name, and I was the previous building inspector for the town of Shandaken for 3.5 years. And last September, I came to a town board meeting, and there was an executive session. And I had a hunch that maybe it might be something about me, but I wasn't sure. But when I got up and I walked out of the room, I said to myself, well, if it was about me, they would have at least given me an opportunity to speak. Well, they did. Next morning, I walked into the job at 7:30 in the morning when I usually get to work. And around 9:30 or so, Kevin Van Blocken summoned me down to the office. And he said, Howie, sit down. I said, no, I don't need to sit down. I said, what's up? He said, well, at the meeting last night, the board voted unanimously to fire you. I said, for what reason? And I was told by Kevin that you weren't going to fit into the direction the town was moving. And I said, that's a reason to be fired. And I don't get a chance to defend myself? He says, no, it doesn't work that way. So I went up to the office and I was pretty shocked. And I started to empty the desk of my personal stuff. And about a half hour later, Kevin knocked on the door, came in and said, what are you doing here? I said, I'm emptying my desk of my personal belongings. He said, well, you're not getting paid for this time. I said, Kevin, I'm not really worried about $17 I might get paid. I said, but I need to take out my personal stuff. And he said, well, if you don't resign, and he had a really nasty attitude, if you don't resign today, you're gonna lose all of your sick time and vacation time. I said, don't worry about it, I'll turn in my resignation, which I did. And, previous to this, there was an issue with the Pines, where he was doing outdoor music on Friday and Saturday night, sometimes till 11 o'clock. And it was loud music, and people, it's a residential neighborhood, and people were complaining to me about it. So I sent Jeremy a violation letter that he was breaking the sound ordinance, and also that in a residential district, you cannot have music and dancing. So anyway, then I was summoned into the office by Rob, and Rob screamed at me, louder than I've ever heard him scream before, that I didn't know what I was doing, I should have consulted the town attorney. I said, it's a noise complaint, it's a noise issue. I told him to go before the ZBA. I had a meeting with Jeremy, and he volunteered that he was not going to do another event until he got approval from the ZBA. So he came to the ZBA board for a meeting, and the ZBA basically said, we don't have any laws against it, it's okay to go ahead and do it. But anyway, so I couldn't understand why Rob was so vehement about me sending out a violation letter for noise. But, so I foiled the town documents, and, let me put my glasses on. So I got the minutes from the executive meeting, closed door meeting, and it says, a discussion was held about the building zoning officer, Howard McGowan, job performance, attendance, and dereliction of duty to the town. Well, that really hurt me. So I brought some evidence. I don't know what evidence was shown at this meeting, but I brought some evidence contrary. This is my earnings statement for the last paycheck that I got. And on this statement, it says overtime, $3,294. That's 122 hours of overtime from January 1st until September. So how could I be derelict in my duties if I was working overtime? And here, let me put some of this in. Here I have a breakdown of my hours for sick time, personal time, and vacation time. And it says that I took 26 hours of sick time for 2021, I'm sorry. Personal time, I took 4 days. Vacation time, I took no days. So how could I be not showing up for work? Also here, I have copies of all my time cards from 2021, from January to September, if you want to look at that. You'll see these very little zeros. I asked Rob about, I said, what was the reason? Was it the pines? He said, no, we didn't even talk about it. So I just kept wondering why was he attacking me? In 3.5 years, he never brought me up to the bench and said, you're not working, you're taking too many times off. Everybody knew I was doing a good job. So I wondered and wondered and wondered, why the hell did they fire me? Well, last Saturday night, I got my answer. I called the Pines, and I asked them, do you serve any local beers? And the woman pleasantly surprised me by saying, oh yes, we feature 3 beers from Westkill Brewery.
Gasp. I'm going to stop you, because as riveting as this tale is, me screaming at you in the office and telling me you're fired, remind me, what was the decision coming out of the executive session? To ask for his resignation? Unanimously? Yes. You were there, you were there, you were there? Yep. I didn't fire you. You resigned. We have the letter. I can read it off the top of my head. How did it go? I resign. Howard McGowan.
Yeah, I did that.
It's great.
Because I didn't want to lose my...
You weren't fired. And you were paid out, which was a nicety we didn't have to provide you. So to bring in my professional life as an issue that wasn't even brought up.
It's a conflict of interest.
How? Because I have a job, Howie?
No, you're selling beer to the Pines.
And what did I do in reference to the Pines? Tell me. What did I do with the Pines?
Please, okay, all right.
How dare you?
Really, this has gone too far.
Enough.
Thank you, Howie. Are you done?
No, I'm not done.
You have more to say?
Yeah, I do.
Anything else about my professional life or reputation?
Leave
Or
You have a job.
you want to make fun of my glasses?
Leave Kevin out of this.
When I was building inspector, I couldn't take a job in this town.
I don't work in this town. I work in Lexington.
Yes, but you made decisions about the Pines and about me.
What decisions did I make?
It's a far-fetched
I'm all about conspiracy theories. We can talk about how birds aren't real either. You know, it's ridiculous that this is still an issue we're talking about 9 months after the fact.
Yes.
You resigned. If you didn't want to resign, I could have fired you.
Yes.
But I didn't.
Totally. You said you either resign.
The great thing about this is it wasn't in private. We have 2 secretaries that heard our conversation. Sarah was in the office when I went up to the business to talk to you. And the only thing to come out of the secretaries and the supervisor's office was that, wow, that went surprisingly well. So if you had an issue, you should have talked to me. Instead of going up and proceeding to work for the next 5 hours, which is not what somebody does when their boss asks for their resignation.
Didn't I have the right to empty my desk?
I walked up and said, what are you doing, Howie? Because Sarah called me and said she was uncomfortable that you were still in the office, right? So I go up to say, what are you doing? And you said, I'm doing my job. And I said, Howie, let me finish. You no longer work here. And you said, oh, like I need to work here for the, quote, pittance that I get from this town? Could you be any more disrespectful? And in the aftermath of all this, your behavior, that's why you weren't brought back to the town. Unacceptable, unprofessional, and deplorable. I'm done talking about it.
Too bad. Too bad. It's about time Howie spoke up for himself. Many of us support Howie's candidacy.
Yeah, but
Please, Maureen.
Why Howie was fired.
Maureen, please. This isn't constructive.
Brave enough to speak up. Kevin is speaking out of turn and hot-headed.
Kevin was being attacked.
And it's a conversation that needs to be had.
All right, because my job as a brewer affects my job as a town councilman.
No, but you're
Please.
Because I've been dealing with this for 9 months.
Please.
Westfield Brewing.
Let Howie finish. Let Howie finish.
And I heard it's because of my dad, right?
It's about time somebody spoke about it.
That's what I heard around town. I'm sure you hear things too. It's funny how things get taken out of context, right? Great.
I live almost right next door to him.
Okay. That's awesome.
I have great respect for him.
Please finish.
Not for me, though.
Okay, so, I know the real issue was that I was fired because I kicked Jeremy Bernstein. I expressed to him that none of the people who complained wanted to shut him down. I didn't want to shut him down. I was trying to work out a compromise. The people wanted the volume turned down. They didn't want him to go out of business. None of the people wanted that. And so, here's a very similar situation. At the colony in Woodstock, they put out a beer garden in for the same reason Jeremy did. And then they started to do music. And that's in a commercial zone. And when summer came around and, the last summer the pandemic was easing up somewhat, people in the neighborhood started complaining about the colony. Same situation as the Pines. The colony maintained that in the future they would do all amplified music indoors and only singer-songwriters outdoors. I was trying to suggest to Jeremy some kind of a compromise. And for this, I got fired.
Any more comments? Thank you very much, everyone. I would like to adjourn the meeting in the memory of Robert G. Cross, Cheryl Bender, Frank Goucher, and Chandra Lucina. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Good night, everyone.